And you are in the zone now. You are with us on a Sunday or anytime during the week if you're watching. It's Tim Wood, it's Bill Bryan, it's MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Bill, pleasure to have you back. We are man down once again. Hector Longo, a late scratch for you fantasy football guys, a late scratch to the lineup. Called in with said he was sick and feeling awful and would not do any good to us.
Are we sure? Are we sure it's not a suspension? Is it a Belichick
PEDs,
scratch?
You just don't know. Yeah, you don't know. You know, it could be PEDs. It could have been food poisoning. You just never know with Hector.
Because it's disappointing. There were some field goals this week.
Yeah.
You know, it's always great to talk about Central's depth when Hector's on air with me.
Absolutely.
Because he gets so riled up because that's his alma mater. And God, how do you talk about Central like that? But, very sad to have him not here. But, Tim, I think you and I'll be fine. Some great action in the MVC. As we talked about a couple weeks ago, as disappointing as it is to have Saturday afternoon games, to be able to catch a Friday night game, I was able to go to Drake It and see an awesome game in Billerica Drake It. You obviously went to Chelmsford Lowell to catch a couple of games in a weekend. It makes for a much better show.
And then you were at Methuen Haverhill, another late comeback or a rally from the Rangers to take out the Hillies. And I was at Central Catholic Andover, and again, it's we had Josh Ramos on last week. He talks about it. They circle that game on the calendar, and you're thinking with the talent that the Golden Warriors have when you combine Ramos and Slayton
Harrington.
and Harrington, and now the freshman quarterback Scotty Brown that's coming on. You're thinking, okay, all right, maybe at home. Maybe just maybe, and no, it was out of hand very quick, and the Raiders went on to, I think they were up 28 to nothing at the half, 28-3, and they end up winning 41-10 with a running clock through the fourth quarter.
I mean, here we are, Tim, based on paper and the records. I was expecting, Methuen to handle Haverhill a little bit easier, and we're expecting a dogfight in Andover, and it was quite the opposite. The dogfight was in Trinity Stadium, and the runaway was in Andover, which is definitely shocking. Tim, I got to ask. Obviously you were there. Is there a possibility this little quarterback controversy could have kind of like messed up Andover a little bit? It's tough when you take your leader out and you start messing things around. I mean, Harrington's a 2-year starter, and the kid is a heck of a player. So I still am baffled by the purpose of.
And it's an interesting question because Brown played a lot of the game against the Raiders too. I mean, Harrington came in at the end and actually threw their only touchdown at the end of the game against the Raiders. Probably second string defense at that point, but
So who started the game?
I got there late as well. So I can't tell you for sure, but I'm pretty sure that Brown started. So
wow.
Even if that's not the case, like you said, just the fact that you've got this in and out, it's interesting. It's interesting, and it's I think maybe trying to prepare them for the future, get him some reps. But these aren't garbage time reps.
I'm like, Tim, this isn't future talk. This is,
this is now.
MVC championship. This is Central Andover, huge rivalry, and you're talking about a kid who is Harrington's a sophomore. So you're not talking about a senior here. You're talking about a kid who's got this season and 2 more seasons left. Like I said, we're not the coach, and obviously, I can say whatever I want from the stands or from afar, but it is a little bit of a head scratcher.
It is. It'll be much easier to ask Coach Perry that question after they win next time.
Hopefully not this Friday or Saturday because they're playing Methuen.
Exactly.
So we'll hold off on answering that question.
So so that was in terms of just trying to see how the league is shaking out and seeing if this is the year that one of the public schools can knock out Central. It wasn't happening against Andover. Lowell's going to get the next shot at him next week. Lowell extremely dominant, as you mentioned. I was there. Lowell extremely dominant. A nice comeback win. A nice turnaround for them in terms of that loss to Methuen in week 3. So I mean, they go out and dominate a scrappy Chelmsford Lions team. They go out and dominate them again, as we said with Central Catholic. Lowell did the same thing to Chelmsford, just absolutely owned them from the kickoff and ended up ended up 43-7.
Yeah, Lowell's weapons, Tim. They have a athletic quarterback who can run. I don't think throwing is his main skill set, but with Ty and the rest of the athletes, Lowell is no joke. They just got to remain disciplined and have a heck of a game next week to be able to stand up to the depth of Central Catholic.
For sure. I mean, and Ty's slowly coming back. The hamstring is still, as you'll hear him say, we talked to him after the win. Talked to a lot of the Red Raiders players after the win. He's saying it's still a work in progress, and it's a work in progress not to re-injure it. And
right.
So they sat him the second half once the game was out of hand or in hand, out of control, and a lot of stars in play there for Lowell. So a good win there, and so Bill Ricca with a big win. You were there, a big win at Drake. You're wondering what are these middies as dominant as the record says? Are they what their record is saying? And Bill Ricca went in there, and again, you can speak better to it, but just dominated from the kickoff.
Well, when you have a coach who knows how to motivate, and obviously when we talk to Coach Sigsbury, we'll hear kind of how he gets his boys up and going. But the press clippings and all of you guys that pick games, definitely added to the press for the Barica players, and there was a fire, Tim. I obviously was a couple minutes late getting to the Midi Stadium, and it was already 14-0. I got the recap by all the fathers and parents when I got there, and the Barica kids were, what I was told from the second they walked onto that field, were up high and basically out chanting. They dressed everybody in Barica, so it was 100 kids in the sideline.
Wow.
Drake had about 35 to 40. And it was an intimidating presence.
Just a photo from the captains, the captains meeting on the field. It was like a Bill Ricca mob right from the get go. It's like 30 captains out there. And
they did a little bit of a hoo-ha chant on the way in, and it was while Drake was chanting, and it was from what I was told by both sides, it was definitely intimidating, and it set the tone for the game. Yeah, it set the tone for the game, and the Barica kids came out, and it's one of those old adages, when you get kind of smacked in the mouth, you got to stand up and fight, and Drake didn't seem to have a comeback to Barica's initial onslaught. So,
Bill Ricca, again, the small part of the conference, that's shaking that up now. Not as much of a domination by Drake as we might have thought we were seeing. So that's certainly back in play. The large is certainly in play, and the other game, the other marquee game on Saturday,
Tewksbury
North Andover was just everything you could have hoped it would be.
Yeah, no, that was a game I wish we could have been in, could have been at. However, Cunningham and Poti, they're texting and their information through Twitter. I kind of felt like I was at the game
Oh yeah! Shout out to
throughout the
Jamie
day.
Poti and Jim Cunningham, especially
Yep.
just on the Tewksbury scene. They do a phenomenal job.
And they don't even just tell you the score, but they make sure you get your stats right. I guess
Yes.
Alward, we put him down for 2 touchdowns. He had 3, but they give you a little bit of history. If we would have if Tewksbury would have scored the last touchdown, which they probably could have, it would have been the exact score of last year's game, but reversed where North Andover won. So they give you a lot of insight and definitely a couple of guys that just love their football and love their community.
And I'll tell you, in terms of how we cover the league, we get around as much as we can. We're growing the network of folks who are out there, feeding us information, feeding us video. But guys like that have been there and killing it before we came on the scene. It's so important, and it's what gets us excited about covering it. Quite honestly, the more focus on youth sports, the more focus on high school football. It's exciting to be able to follow it along, even if you can't get to the games.
No, you're right, Tim, and we're great. We're brave to put our mugs on the camera, and I think that's the difference. Those guys have a ton of knowledge and insight and skill set, and it's great to be able to take information from them and pass it on. Because at the end of the day, this is all about the players and the coaches and the schools, and if we can kind of help create some friendly rivalries and get games talked about, because there's a lot of kids, man, that are giving 110%, and as we know, things like that can end for them, and we want to make sure we give them all the juice and all of the props we can, because you never know.
And the picks are friendly too. Logan at MVC Merrimack Valley Sports Report. Again, we talk about information that's out there. Logan's got another full-time job, and Logan started this up because he's just hugely passionate about the MVC and wanted more coverage out there, and so he's making picks now, and
I got a small little issue with Logan though, Tim.
Oh, of course, yeah, and again, he's new.
I was sitting 2 people away from him, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
I get home and I see his videos of the Billerica Drake game, and I'm telling my wife, I'm like,
that's my view.
I didn't take that's the view I was at. I said, at one point you heard me in the stands, and I went on Logan's his own Twitter page, and I clicked on his picture, and I'm like, I looked him in the eyes like 4 or 5 times. I wish I would have known what he looked like, and I hopefully next time we see each other, we can say hello and check in, because he's doing some great work, He along with you this week picked a couple of duds. I mean, let's just call it like we see it.
The Tribune too. I mean, listen, we were on the Drake It bandwagon, and I went even farther onto the Drake It bandwagon than the Tribune and Logan did. I think I had it like 35-10.
But you do recall me telling you before the game, before I got there, that I was picking Billerica, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I put those picks out there way before the game, so you certainly, I will give you props. You were picking Billerica. You were kind of like, what are you doing? That's not like representing all of us, is it? That's just so next week, if it's not representing all of us, I will put it to make sure that these are the views of Tim Wood, in case as happened after the Billerica Drake game, that the Indians folks kind of gave me the what for on Twitter. So that's fun. That's fun.
And hey, one other shout out too. If you remember last week, Tim, during the show, we were talking about the player of the week, and I think Alwood was winning at the time, and we all picked one. I will give Hector props, man. He picked Colby Cyrus.
He did, yeah. And
it was instantly after that, there was probably 50 votes within the next half hour.
I will give, I mean, as much as I will give Hector props for just spreading the love around. You got to give the Bill Ricca crowd a props, because we had like 400, probably 400 votes at that point, and it was well in hand for Aylward. And boom, within by the end of the Sunday NFL games, it was flip flopped. Our graphics guy, Chris Calisi, huge shout out to Chris. He was looking at the early voting. He had already made the Aylward graphic, and he'd made Ramos, just sucking up to me. And he had to go back and make the Cyrus logo. So huge shout out to Colby Cyrus, and huge shout out to all the folks that voted. It's this is fun, and like you said,
the rumor was that Sunday is a good time for political candidates to get out and knock on doors. The rumor was people were knocking on doors and they were opening the door waiting to talk about a political candidate, and it was grabbing their cell phone, getting on their Twitter, and voting for Colby. So there was definitely a couple hours on Sunday morning where there was Barica people walking around making sure, did you get your tweet in yet? Let's go, get your tweet in for Colby.
Nice. They come out. I'll tell you, they come out for him, and we've got another Indians player on there this week. We'll talk about that later. All right, so here's the overall lineup for the show. We're heavy. We were at 4 games, so we are heavy on post-game interviews and video this week. We've got all kinds of players from Lowell, from Central Catholic. I got a couple interviews from the Drake at Bill Ricca game, some video, and some stuff from Methuen Haverhill as well. But we will also, as Bill kind of teased earlier, our longer interview this week, we will talk to Dwayne Sigsbury, the head coach of Bill Ricca, about the huge win, about the evolution of this year's team, and what he sees moving forward. Plus a couple of cool things that Bill Ricca does, and a couple of cool things going on with the coach himself. So stay tuned for that. That's the lineup, folks. We will come back. I think we got to start off. I think we got to start off Tewksbury, North Andover. Is that fair, Bill?
Without question. That was definitely the game of the week.
Absolutely. So we'll start there. We'll take a quick break here. We'll talk Redmen Scarlet Knights right after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now right-in-place insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and MAPFRE, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? I just asked Val and his crew to find me a better auto and home insurance deal, and he connected me with Plymouth Rock, where I'm saving more than 40% over my previous insurance. Now, your results may vary, but give Davila and DeFusco a try. They pride themselves on having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or check them out at daviladefusco.com. Big shout out to the folks at AFC Urgent Care, Lisa Williams and her team over there. AFC Urgent Care, the right care right now. You'll never need an appointment. Got that persistent cough and cold, that cut that needs a few stitching, or need a sports physical and don't want to wait weeks to get into your primary doctor? AFC's streamlined approach helps you be seen quickly and feel better fast. In Methuen, in the Merrimack Street Medical Professionals Building, 380R Merrimack Street, in North Andover as well, in the Burton Grill Plaza, 8 to 8 Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 Saturday and Sunday. Go to afcurgentcare.com for more details. Hey, I want to tell you about Jen Hamilton, the realtor for Keller Williams Realty. She's licensed in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and she's a big supporter of all things local, especially youth sports. She's a big backer for Central Catholic and Methuen athletics, but she's a household name around the Merrimack Valley. Hey, the autumn market is in full swing. If you are thinking of selling, now is the time. Inventory is an all-time low, making this a seller's market. In a seller's market, there's a greater chance for a bidding war on your home. So put Jen Hamilton's 33-plus years of experience to work for you today by calling for a free, no-obligation market analysis of your home. Call Jen at 508-954-7941. A huge supporter of youth athletics. Listen, her record speaks for itself. She's one of the top sellers in the region for Keller Williams Realty. Hamilton is a household word. Call her at 508-954-7941. Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by DeVille and DeFusco Insurance. Watch us anytime throughout the week, folks. We are everywhere. I'm telling you, you can catch us. We're everywhere. It's insane where we are now, Bill. I mean, we've got we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got Periscope, we've got YouTube, and now you. Kind of retrofit that to the studio setup so we could do the phone interviews still.
Right,
we were hoping we could get some of these guys on Skype, like you and I kind of put ourselves out there no matter what we look like on a Sunday morning, and we're over in terms of that, but the fight goes on. We are going to get these players on Skype. I'm not holding out much hope for the coaches, but we're going to get the players.
No, they'll catch on, Tim. And we noticed by our player of the week, we're noticing with our views. I'm getting videos sent to me right after games yesterday, all into this morning. As people learn the format and see that we've taken a show that we used to just kind of talk for a couple hours, and Hector would complain about how long it was, and he had to go home and do other more important things.
Can't do this next week, guys.
Yeah, it can't be so long. We're breaking it up into smaller segments so you can catch the whole show, which is the goal, but you can also see, and ideally what's going to happen, Tim, and it's already starting to get talked about, is our little segments are going to get sponsors by the towns that they live in.
Exactly.
So as much as it's great for us to have a little sponsor, so my challenge to Borica, as you watch the Coach Sigsbury interview, is get off your butts and get a local Borica, restaurant business to sponsor the segment, and then you're guaranteed that weekly talk about,
Absolutely.
Regardless if you win or lose. And that's going to be the key to the show for us to be able to continue, Tim, is the towns kind of picking up and supporting us and paying for all this technology and these awesome flags that we have.
And the outfits and the grooming, I mean, it's we need help, but all kidding aside, you're absolutely right, Bill, and we're going to start that next week. Country Kitchen in Methuen has signed on. They're going to be the sponsor of Methuen segments moving forward, and as Bill said, we challenge Bill Ricca, we challenge every town. We're gonna the ADs. The ADs, the coaches, the booster associations, they've all been phenomenal in embracing the show. And so that's the next step of the outreach here. But I'll tell you, honestly, before we start calling you, if you have someone in your town, in an MVC town if you're a small business or a small business that is a perfect fit to be the sponsor of your team's segments on the show, let us know. Let us know, through Twitter, through a direct message. See us at the games. Email me, Tim at loopweekly.com. We'll make it happen. I trust you, and as we've said, we will promote the heck out of you, and it's the most affordable way to promote your business. and promote youth sports and local journalism at the same time. So that's.
And Tim, and I wish Hector was here because, like I'm about to say, and he'd get all emotional and all upset with me. But Central's in all the towns, so they have no excuse to not get a couple of businesses to help out the show and promote them. So, we definitely need to see Central step up and get a sponsor and help out the show.
It's funny you say that because, like, you talk about Logan being unassuming, and he really is. He's not a media guy. Okay, this is a fan who started this WordPress site to promote the MVC and all the youth athletes. Same mission as we have. So we've kind of tried to connect. He works during the day, so it's been hard to connect or do videos. So far, we're going to make that happen. But there's been a couple times where we've talked about him getting us some video on some post game interviews, especially, and he said afterwards, they wouldn't let me through. They wouldn't let me onto the field, because and we'll rectify that getting him a press pass. But I mean, so what I was saying there.
If I would have known he was two people over from me and Drake, I would have just walked him on the field with him.
Absolutely, you would have been his bouncer.
Logan, you just got to walk on the field and act like you belong there. Plus, it helped that I had John Houlihan with me, who probably would have taken care of a couple of guys for me in a nice way.
So in saying that, I'm standing. I came with the head of steam, wanting to talk to Ernie DiFiore, and Ernie is the same way. He's unassuming, and so it's like I almost feel bad coming in hot when I'm talking to Ernie. Such a nice guy.
Ernie's a great guy, a Methuen guy. Ernie has been nothing but nice to me and my family, and I'll be honest, I'll probably expect a call or a text from him later. Just a good guy, and I have no problem standing behind everything that all the crap I give Central, and I'm going to continue to do it. But there is a lot of great people and a lot of great kids that go there. It's just a conversation for another day. But I can't talk any higher enough about Ernie and all the things that he's done.
All right, so we kind of did some self-promotion to start here, but needed to keep spreading the word. So Tim Wood, Bill Bryan here on MVC Gridiron Weekly. Let's talk Tewksbury, North Andover, Bill. It was a game where coming into it, you wonder where both these teams are at. They're both defending, state division defending champs. One of them a state champ. So you're thinking, but off to North Andover off to a slow start, but it's clearly shown signs of life. Tewksbury, the loss to Methuen. You're wondering, okay, how dominant are they? How's this game going to play out? And we got our answers pretty quickly there, Bill.
No, we did, Tim, and I think going into it on paper, I think everyone would be fibbing if they didn't say that was the game of the week. So I think all eyes and ears were on that game. One of the quotes at the Barica Drake game was, the field behind us was getting hosed down, was being watered up, and one of the fathers joked that that's what was going on in the Tewksbury field all night long to mud it up because historically North Andover has better athletes and can outrun. Last year they played in North Andover on the turf, and the outcome did not go the Redmen way. Tewksbury going on to win the state championship, but
this year a little different.
Playing in Tewksbury on that grass, I don't even want to call it a field at times because it is a tough place to play. It definitely might have slowed down the athletes of North Andover. Watching some of the video, it looked like their running back. Once again, his name always escapes me, and it should not.
Talking about North Andover.
Yeah,
Freddie Gaben.
Gaben, seemed to do his thing again, cutting through and making some great moves. But
he had a 55-yard run, 98 yards for the game. So I mean, they in terms of his numbers, they kind of let him go a little bit, but overall kept him in check.
No, they did a couple of big runs, which is probably what Alwood talked all week about. Don't give up the big play, and it seemed like they did. But at the end of the day, took both well-coached teams here. So when I say this is not a knock on North Andover, but Alwood, man, he's been coaching for so long. He knows his players. He knows his team. He knows kids that are in 3rd and 4th grade playing Pop Honor right now and how he's going to use them in 6 years when they come up. And if you think I'm kidding, you're crazy, because his current quarterback was an 8th grader, and I met him back when he was at the 8th, 9th grade transition camp that Coach Ryan and Coach Al would do. And, he just knows his kids. He knows his town, and they know him and trust him. And, I can't say that I called this game. I didn't pick a winner. I really thought it was going to be a toss-up. And but I'm not surprised that Tewksbury was able to handle North Andover.
Well, we've got some of the highlights up on the screen now, and most a lot of these highlights from the game are all about Shane Aylward, and you talk about the explosive plays, a 90-yard kickoff run to start, a couple of big plays offensively. One of the plays that you're seeing right now is a play where Aylward tracks down Gaben. It's Gaben's 55-yard run, but Aylward gave him probably about a 20-yard head start and caught him down the sideline at the 3-yard line. So, I mean, it's not just offense when we're talking about Aylward. I mean, he had 231 all-purpose yards on the game, but it just exemplifies the hustle that is the Redmen.
Yeah. No. There is no word quit in that kid's vocabulary, and doesn't matter if it's offense, defense, special teams. He's been coached well for many years, and I think he's kind of taken on that identity. I don't think he needs much motivation. It's like having another coach on the field with him.
And we're watching his last touchdown run, which was just a gorgeous, gorgeous run. And what it reminds me too, Bill, and again, not to suck up to my co-host here, but I mean, it's Coach Brian and son Shane, very similar to what I see with you and your son Connor. You guys were, you guys keep them humble. Last year you were kind of trying to underplay them, kind of keep them under the radar and keep their heads from getting too big. Not that was going to happen with either one of these kids. I mean, late last year, this year, you can't contain it in terms of Shane Aylward. I mean, he is beast mode personified in terms of everything he does on the field, and it showed. I mean, there was a couple times where North Andover had a couple breaks go their way. You're thinking, all right, this is the spot where they come back and win the 3rd straight year against the Redmen. And Aylward led the charge and kept this game out of touch.
Tim, I would say for me, probably one of the best ways to describe it is the game of football has changed so much. And Shane is probably what now we call an Iron Man player. Back in the day, it was playing both ways. It was playing every snap, and you don't see that. Oh, wait a minute, that's what he's doing. Yeah. He plays special teams, he plays offense, he plays defense, and he plays critical positions. And a lot of the offense comes through him. He passes, he runs, he catches. And he's instrumental on defense. You described the special teams play where, he's running, chasing a kid down the field. And that's, you don't see much of that these days. There is kids that go both ways, but not to the level that Shane Aylward goes.
Absolutely. Ryan, the quarterback, you mentioned Ryan Remetta, a 26-yard touchdown pass to Nolan Timmons to cap the scoring for the Redmen. Kyle Dorigo, also an 8-yard touchdown for Tewksbury. Will Schimler, better there? Schimler?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect, unless they call us and say it's pronounced another way, then
yeah.
we're kind of screwed.
All right.
So.
Well, in terms of where you were at, I was on. Okay. Will Schimler, 115 passing yards, 36 rushing yards, a 3-yard TD run, and a TD pass to Sebastian Venti. So, And then Freddie Gaben, as we mentioned, 11 carries, 98 rushing yards, a 55-yard run, and a 6-yard TD run for the Scarlet Knights. Scarlet Knights fall to 1-3, Tewksbury 3-1.
Now, Tim, there is a correction by Cunningham that says that Elwood has had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I didn't say he didn't. I just mentioned that he had. Actually, I think I said in the vote I said 2 touchdowns. Okay.
I don't think you counted his 90-yard return. I think it was his 2 regular plays.
No, I did. I just didn't. I knew he had 3, and I didn't put all 3 of them on the recap screen. But then in doing that, then I only put 2 TDs in the MVP vote summary. I would hope that the 231 yards would be enough for folks to vote for him.
And another huge win. Think about it. You go Methuen, you go BC High, and then you go North Andover. That is not a joke of a schedule right there at all. Those are 3 top tier opponents.
Cunningham already hit us in a comment on the vote. Correcting, saying it was 3 touchdowns, a 90-yard kickoff, a 5-yard run, a 75-yard run. So, Jim,
he did that right around 9 o'clock.
Yep,
just so you know.
Jim, well played. You are the Tony Reale of the show this week. So there's your wrap up in terms of Tewksbury North Andover. Tewksbury will be another big kind of show me game next week against Billerica. North Andover will play Chelmsford. So great game there in Tewksbury on Saturday. Another barn burner type game was the Methuen Rangers. They are living dangerously as of late. 2 straight really tight wins where they needed a rally. This one came with some baggage in terms of Connor Bryant, MVP candidate for certain. He left the game in the first half, Bill.
Yeah, kind of did something to his left foot, obviously, where his parents were going to have that looked at and see what's going on. Was not able to return in the second half, which obviously is disappointing for any kid, any player, any parent. Obviously, Connor's pretty bummed out, but definitely cares about the team and his quarterback that Jordan Perdermo that was a junior and senior during Connor's freshman and sophomore year was a huge fan of Connor and definitely helped his development and growth and the same Connor has done that to a junior Joe Ganji and has been kind of passed on that same type of responsibility of making sure that the guy behind you is as ready to go as you are, and as hard as that is to know that someone's going to replace you, you have to show that same respect and be a good teammate. And it shows a lot about Connor's character that after he got himself taped up and on crutches, he was on the sideline. And as a dad and as a someone who loves youth coaching, to see my son, hobbling out to the sidelines and coaching Joe and coaches were yelling at Connor, tell him to do this, because at that moment they knew that kid in that moment was, probably a little nervous and a lot going on. And that he's been so used to Connor talking to him and helping him out, it was much easier to pass that message through Connor. So sure. as a dad, when you see your son being a mentor and being a damn good teammate, despite the injury and him coming out, it was a proud moment in that aspect.
So we watched a couple of passes from Connor earlier in the game. Here
10 for 12, over 100 yards passing. Yeah. He was on. He was kind of adjusted. He had a toe he hurt in Tewksbury that kind of threw off his passing game against Lowell, and he had kind of figured out, okay, I got to change my arm slot and adjust some things, and he had done that all week, and he was connecting with Coleman and some other players, and Bergeron was running the ball well. they had a couple of costly fumbles, and defensively we let Haverhill have a couple of really long drives, which ate off a lot of time, which was unfortunate. But they were ready to pounce, and ending the second quarter.
10-3 at the half. Haverhill was up 10-3. So Methuen, or 10-3, yeah? Or 10-6?
10-6.
10-6. So 10-6. Methuen scores to go up 12-10 on a Coleman touchdown. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then the play we're about to watch is when the Hillies retook the lead to go up 17-12. So as you see, a slant pass there from
Scaffus.
Brady Scaffus. So that put him up 17-12, and then
now you lose your starting quarterback.
Yep.
You're coming out. You're not playing your best game. You're committing penalties. You're fumbling. Everyone's heads were down, and one of the things that I will give Connor a lot of credit for is over the last year and last season, he definitely showed that team and the returning players that I don't care if it's the first second of the game or the last second of the game, you always have a chance to win the game. And they put Ganji on their shoulders, and he stepped up and did what he needed to do. And the other person was Kareem Coleman. Kareem had to take a little bit more of the offense, running the ball, catching the ball, and the kid blocks constantly blocking. And there's even a touchdown called back for a block in the back. And I really wish people would have a better understanding of what a block in the back is. If you hit them in the back, it's a block in the back. But if you're blocking them in the front and they spin, you got to know that's not a block in the back. And the video clearly shows Kareem had a great block, and the kid spun, and he continued his block. You can't stop blocking when they turn their back to you. And these new rules are just making it very confusing for the referees, and it's unfortunate because Zach Bergeron loses a 65-yard touchdown run on what clearly was a 65-yard touchdown run.
You mentioned Ganji and Coleman, and you mentioned kind of maybe some heads hanging. The clock ticking. You're wondering where are we at this point, and just a huge momentum changer on this play here. You'll see where Ganji,
very athletic play.
Ganji takes one for the team in terms of the hit that he takes, and gets it off to Coleman, who then an amazing scrim. Let's take a look at it.
That was a Kareem. I don't want to get hit right now. I'm going to run my ball.
So great play there by Coleman and Ganji, quite honestly, to get rid of the ball even. I'm going
to be honest, Tim, from the stands, Ganji looked like he was like, what the hell do I do right now? Someone get this ball for me.
Hot potato.
The last second he gave it up and got absolutely hammered by a huge defensive tackle. And then, like you said, Coleman just took off and did the whole, you're not hitting me right now. And that was a second and long, which ended up being a third and short, which led to a first down that obviously, it naturally led to a touchdown by Ganji for Methuen to go ahead.
Here is as we're watching the Coleman end of the play that kind of kept that drive going. Here is the Ganji touchdown. So that puts Methuen up 19-17 at that point.
Yep.
And from there, Bill, kind of take us home in terms of what happened from there, because it was not easy sailing for the Rangers.
No, it wasn't. It would have been much easier if that was kind of the end of the game. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Tim, ironically, my wife's typically on the field, and she was for most of it. But I'm sitting with Diane Ganji, Joe's mom, and it was her birthday yesterday and Zach Bergeron's birthday. So there she is, Tim, just absolutely nervous and psyched for her son. but sitting next to me, knowing that, for her son to get in, my kid's on crutches on the sideline, and just a great family and extremely respectful, and, literally would jump up and cheer and then turn around and give me a hug. And I'm so sorry. It's like, hey, right now we're about Joe, and Joe's going to win this game for the Rangers. So it was kind of one of those strange moments where you're rooting a kid on, knowing that your own kid is hurt, which makes it tough. So Haverhill was not done, Tim. They weren't ready to give that game up. Methuen ends up kicking the ball off. Haverhill comes right down the field and marches down. Methuen comes up with a huge stop to kind of stop the drive, and we ended up recovering, getting the ball back, and it kind of goes back and forth. The huge play was Methuen stopped. Haverhill punts the ball. Methuen's got a 1st and 10, I think within their 10-yard line, and we obviously need a first down. We don't get it. Haverhill makes a couple of plays. I don't know if I would have called as they were going in scoring. We ended up punting the ball. Don't get a great punt off. Haverhill drives down, gets in the red zone. They're ready to score. Huge play by Ayala, who makes a tackle. It's clear on the tape. Nick Matthew, as Ayala's tackling him, Nick strips the ball right out. Recovered by I don't have his name right in front of me. Fumbles recovered by Methuen. Once again, now it's 1st and 10.
Let's take a look at the fumble there real quick. Courtesy of all this tape has been courtesy of Jen Silva. So great work again from Jen.
So Ethan Ayala with that great stop. Kid brand new to football, hadn't played very often. Obviously making huge strides to be able to be on a varsity game.
That felt like that moment felt like a Butler Super Bowl moment where you're like they're going in. They're going in, and we're in trouble. It's late in the
Tim,
game.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm in the stands with my sister, who's been coaching girls basketball for if I say how many years, she'll probably pop me one. And we're talking strategy right now, and I'm thinking, if I'm Methuen,
let him in.
They're already in field goal range. Let them score.
Yeah, let them in.
Now you're talking 19-17. You're talking 23-24-19. Now all you got to do is score, but then you're thinking, all right, we got a brand new quarterback in. Kind of what do we do? And you needed a big play. And obviously Ayala makes the tackle. That's his job. He's supposed to. But Nick Matthew, a senior, Nick was my QB all the way through Pop Honor. Smart player. I'm so happy what Nick's doing, both offensively and defensively. Nick strips the ball out, and Jordan Duran makes the recovery. And Jordan's no joke, man. He picked that ball up. He had end zone in his sights. It was about 95 yards away. He was immediately tackled after about a yard and a half. So he's probably going to get a lot of crap from the coaches. Just jump on the ball. Don't worry about trying to score 95 yards with under 2 minutes left in the game. But a huge play to basically, you would think, seal the game. Right now we're under 2 minutes, right? We have the ball, huge fumble. Methuen, run, punt. Now there's a minute and 40 seconds. Haverhill makes a couple of good plays. Methuen makes a huge stop in the end zone. Ben Cadet, like he's been doing all year. Another long pass. Kareem Coleman makes a great play. Haverhill lines up after a timeout for a 45-yard field goal.
And this kid made a field goal to end the half. So
and he has a boot. He can kick, and you saw him during warm-ups. He can absolutely kick the ball. So the whole stands is just watching to see what happens, and he had the leg, Tim. I don't know if it quite made the pole, but it was a boot, and it went into the end zone. It was just wide left, and obviously the Rangers went into victory formation and sealed the 1917 win. So it was a great game. Tough situation for Connor to not play in the second half, and we'll see what's going to happen in the weeks coming for him. He loves the game of football. He loves his teammates, and anything short of not playing next week would be pretty devastating for him.
As you mentioned, Zach Bergeron, he had a 6-yard TD rush. Kareem Coleman, a 21-yard TD rush in the third quarter. and Joe Ganji with the 12-yard TD rush to give the Rangers the lead for good. We caught up with Mr. Ganji after the game.
All right, Mr. Ganji, Bill Bryant, MVC Gridiron. Got a call second half to come in. Connor Bryant has to come out. Talk a little bit about how that was.
Well, coming into the second half, very nervous, very nerve-wracking. But once you started driving down the field, we ended up scoring. Felt good and felt more confident in the team, and we ended up getting it done.
All right, how was the touchdown for you when you ended up crossing the end zone yourself? How big is that?
That was amazing. It's a really good feeling. I'm glad I got to experience that, and hopefully Connor's back next week and we move on to Andover and we get it done.
All right, what did you say to the guys in the huddle for your first play?
I just called the play and I said, "We got this. We're gonna drive down the field and we're gonna do it." All
right, who made the defensive stop on the tackle? Did you see who that was?
I didn't end up seeing who that was, but it was a big play.
All right, huge win for the Rangers.
Yeah,
great job.
Definitely. Thank you.
Keep it going, kid.
Thank you.
All right, so there's Joe Gate. Now listen, we're talking about Connor's injury. That's kind of a tough conversation, especially having it with the dad here on air. So we want to kind of add some levity, and I'll tell you that when I first saw the photo of Joe Ganji, the video, when I saw the freeze frame of the video. The first thing, and again, I'm dating myself, and that's fine because I am a little bit I'm getting to be an old fart. But the first thing, two things jumped into my head: Denny Terrio from Dance Fever, and Adrian Zemed from T.J. Hooker. Now, when I did the Google search, the Terrio thing, not so much. But take a look at this.
So Tim, hold on, just so we know, if this is well received, I was definitely part of this. If this is not well received, I am not part of this at all.
And this is completely in jest, and just a obscure observation by yours truly. But here's what we came up with: separated at birth, Adrian Zemed is Romano on T.J. Hooker on the left. Joe Ganji, Methuen Ranger, on the right. I mean, come on. Even with the headband.
Yeah, the headband,
the long hair. That's the Romano from TJ Hooker I remember, because he always had the headband on, and it's like he had a clause in his contract to be shirtless as much as possible on the show. And so I didn't think, it's 80s show. I didn't think I was going to find something with him in the bandana, and boom, there it is. So let us know what you think on the Twitter. We will put that up after the show, and I'm sure we will get a few comments in terms of who the heck is Adrian Zemed. Maybe I'll tag Adrian Zemed and get him to chime in.
There's always good humor in a little doppelganger or a lookalike, so hopefully people will know it's in jest.
All right, penalty on both of us. We went way long in that segment. Two games full of stuff to talk about, so we will rein ourselves in, take a quick break, get some oxygen, pay some bills, let you hear about the wonderful sponsors that bring the show to you each week, which there's always room for more. As we said earlier, but we'll take a quick break. Bill, get some water, get some fluids in you, and hopefully Hector's doing the same thing at home, and I'll do the same. We're both fighting off colds, but we play through.
We're here.
That's what
you
do.
Show up.
That's what you do.
You got to show up to play the game.
Yep. All right, so we will be right back after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now right-in-place insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and MAPFRE, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? I just asked Val and his crew to find me a better auto and home insurance deal, and he connected me with Plymouth Rock, where I'm saving more than 40% over my previous insurance. Now, your results may vary, but give Davila and DeFusco a try. They pride themselves on having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or check them out at daviladefusco.com. Hey, I want to tell you about Jen Hamilton, the realtor for Keller Williams Realty. She's licensed in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and she's a big supporter of all things local, especially youth sports. She's a big backer for Central Catholic and Methuen athletics, but she's a household name around the Merrimack Valley. Hey, the autumn market is in full swing. If you are thinking of selling, now is the time. Inventory is an all-time low, making this a seller's market. In a seller's market, there's a greater chance for a bidding war on your home. So put Jen Hamilton's 33-plus years of experience to work for you today by calling for a free, no-obligation market analysis of your home. Call Jen at 508-954-7941. A huge supporter of youth athletics. Listen, her record speaks for itself. She's one of the top sellers in the region for Keller Williams Realty. Hamilton is a household word. Call her at 508-954-7941. Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, and you, and not Hector Longo. But I think that should, by contract, that should probably be our last shot at Hector for his missing for the week. But the show has to go on, Bill, and especially when you had the kind of football that we had this week around the MVC. Let's talk about Bill Ricca Drake it. You were there, and we talked on the opener. The Indians certainly came to play.
No, they did, and I don't know what contract you're talking about, Tim, but I'm going to give Hector crap all I want. And I actually showed up to the Friday night game, unlike Hector today. So it was a great game, Tim. On the way there, like I said, I was a little late, and I definitely texted you. And knowing both towns, I was struggling with Barica's 0-2 start. Bishop Fian wasn't a really good team, but you and I have talked. It's those private schools. They're still a good opponent. So whether they have a good team or not, it's still a big game. And I was really struggling with Drake's schedule and Barica's start. I just really had a feeling that Coach Sigsbury was going to have that Barica team jacked and pumped, and he's a hell of a coach. He's got a great pedigree, and he's definitely given the Barica Indians a new life in football. And I show up, I pull in, and I see 7-0 on the scoreboard, and I couldn't tell, it was so far away. And as I got to the ticket booth, fans on the visitor side start going crazy. I come around the corner. Sure enough, 13-0. I walk in, I see the extra point kicked, and I get into the stands on the Barica side because I'm a little bit more welcomed there. And it's 14-0 Barica. So I text you right away. You say, "Oh my goodness!" You let me know that Lowell's up 20-0, and that I clearly picked the better game to go to. And the intensity in that stadium was, and I actually think, and this isn't me sending a dig, I think there was more Barica fans, and it was pretty packed, but just seemed to be like more of a Barica presence than there was a Drake presence, and that was the same on the field.
So Houlihan went for over 300 the week before. Only 3 of 8 for 56 yards. He did have a 12-yard TD pass to senior captain Sean Colby, but he also had a long pass in the game, but which we're showing right here. But I mean, this
he also
was
had a
kind
65-yard touchdown called back.
Okay.
That once again, it is what it is. Obviously, it's a hard job to officiate, but kind of a tough call. Said he was too close to the line of scrimmage, which, once again, being right there, being right at the 50, it was a tough call to make on such a great play. It was.
The Indians' defense was kind of the story of the game outside of Brian Hamilton. Brian Hamilton, 28 carries, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. But tell us about this defense. 2 forced fumbles in the Drake backfield all night, and one of those plays, as we're going to punch up here, Bill, is Ryan Hogan, who had a big sack and was part of that D line that was in the backfield all night.
Tim, probably the strangest part of the game to talk about, Drake's fullback is a big kid, and he was not easy to bring down. So it was like he was getting 6 or 7 yards a carry, and you're thinking, all right, Drake's is going to keep marching down the field. And then it was almost like they called a play that didn't work, and that was third and longer, and Borica really just hammered it down. So Drake would have a good 30, 40-yard drive and then kind of switch it up a little bit, and Borica defense was able to adjust. The Borica linebackers, anytime the quarterback, Silva, was, trying to throw the ball, was just giving him fits. Jason Paganis, who we're going to talk about later on, 8th grader at Borica High School, inside linebacker. Pretty much any time he was in that game and there was a pass play, he was sprinting at that quarterback and really disrupting what they were trying to do offensively.
And Santiago, that's a pedestrian game for him, 78 yards rushing, 42 yards passing. He did have a touchdown pass, but as you said, as we said, they definitely shut him down. Now, on the other side of the ball, as we said, Houlihan had been the stud quarterback. But in this game, Sigsbury and his staff kind of flipped the script and rode the hot hand of running back Brian Hamilton. As we said, 182 rushing yards, Bill, as we punch up a couple of his big running plays in the game.
No, Tim, think about that. Being a senior quarterback, being a kid who can throw 300 yards in a game, to just be that disciplined and that much of a team guy, to just dive right, dive left, dive right, and he had a couple of runs himself. He had a couple of key first downs where he, play action fake, and then Nolan ran the ball himself. The run game was working. Drake showed something to Borica on film, and Borica took advantage of it, and they never adjusted. I think it's hard when you got a kid like Colby Cyrus. You got to double team him. You have to respect him, and they didn't seem like they had one kid that could stop him, which obviously freed up a linebacker to cover a tight end, which just allowed the Borica offensive line to just dominate and run the ball pretty much at will. Almost 200 yards rushing. That's a dominating day for the line.
Absolutely. For Drake, Dominic Silvestro, he caught a 15-yard touchdown pass from Santiago for the Middy's first score. But as we mentioned, Brian Hamilton, the offensive star of the game, outside of a huge defensive effort from the Indians, and Bill caught up with Brian right after the game.
Right, Bill Bryan from MVC Gridiron. Talking about the game, getting a couple touchdowns early.
Just got to thank my linemen. That's all I gotta say. Ready for next week.
How was it jumping up to a 14-0 lead in Drake?
That's just how it goes. That's how it is.
All right, talk a little bit about some of the linemen and how important it was to.
Yeah. Oh, they're my boys.
So,
not a lot to say other than I'm a running back, Mr. Bryant, and my linemen took care of me all game long. I have nothing else to say, but how about my boys? And what more can you say, Tim?
Well, one guy who's got plenty left to say on this game is we're fortunate enough to have him with us. He also did an interview with Bill, after the game that we put up on Twitter, online. The head coach from the Billerica Indians, Dwayne Sigsbury, on the line with us now. And on the line with us now is the head coach of the Billerica Indians, Dwayne Sigsbury, Coach Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, MVC Gridiron Weekly. Congratulations on a huge win at Drake.
Yes, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was a great win. Our kids prepared hard all week and, did everything we asked them to do, and, we're just proud of them.
Coach, just in terms of how, like, what you keyed on in preparing for Drake, it just seems like you guys came out and just bulldozed them right out of the gate.
Yeah, we want to establish the run and use our physicality to hopefully keep their offense off the field and just using the run to our advantage because we thought we had the advantage up front.
Coach, how important up front was it for your line? On the way to the game, I was running a little late, but I was not concerned about Barica's intensity and their ability to go in and have a dogfight, but the front line seemed to be the difference throughout the whole game.
Yeah, we have, we're still short one guy in the line, but the five guys that are playing for us right now, and throwing our tight end Sean Colby, we have some physicality up front and some big boys, and we're just using that to our advantage right now.
Coach, in terms of just kind of switching it up and I mean, Houlihan's obviously been a weapon for you. One of the few guys that can go for 300 yards easily. Cyrus was our MVP last week. It almost seems like they probably overloaded on the pass, and you guys came out all run.
Yeah, we had thought after the week, Nolan and Colby had against Bishop Fee, and we've kind of figured that they were going to really concentrate on the pass. We changed up our offensive set to add the extra guy into the box for us, and it worked out. So they were definitely double covering Colby, and we were able to run the ball.
All right, obviously Hamilton having 182 yards rushing, that's quite a monster effort. Was that something that you expected from him, or was this a little bit of a surprise where you guys have been not mainly an airborne team, but you haven't really had that dual threat?
Yeah, I think that, Brian's really, coming to his own. He's a terrific athlete. He really is. If you notice, he gets hit once or twice and he keeps his feet going, and he's, has great body lean. So it's just, it's something that we've been able to do. It's just all clicked last Friday.
Coach, talk a little bit about Jason Paganis, inside linebacker, kind of seemed to be all over the field. And while I was in the stands watching the game, I heard a little interesting fact about him.
Yeah, he's going to be a heck of a player. He's only an 8th grader. He hurt his ankle, so he missed the first 2 games. But against Bishop Fee, we got him in there a little bit, get his feet wet. And, he played a huge part in shutting down Drake's offense, which is a very good offense, and they do a great job over there. And he's going to be an unbelievable player. He's well beyond his years.
his pressure on the quarterback in the second half really took the QB out of the ability to set up and make a good throw. He's definitely got some speed, and he's not shy with the power either.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's like I said, he's only an 8th grader, but he plays like he's a junior or a senior, and we're lucky to have him on our team. But like you said, he was immense last week in the second half. Just causing havoc in the backfield. He was great.
Coach, how often do you typically use 8th graders or severe underclassmen?
Yeah, we've always used underclassmen against Bishop Fee, and we had a freshman center play a lot, and we're not scared. The kids are ready, and they're physically and mentally able to play at the varsity level. We'll play them. It's our first year with 8th graders in the high school, and most of our 8th graders are playing Papuana where we want them to be playing. A couple play on the freshman team, but Jason was just above and beyond anything we ever expected. And after he got over his ankle injury, he's been great for us.
We're talking to Dwayne Sigsbury, the coach of the Bill Rickett Indians, a huge 30-8 win over Drake this past Friday. Coach, tell us just a little bit in terms of Brian Hamilton and just his breakout game there. But just for those who don't know about him, tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, he's a very hard-working kid. He's a blue-collar kid, very, very tough. He never stops moving his feet, and he's not scared of contact. He actually likes the contact. We were kidding as coaches, during a couple of scrimmages when we were actually out in the field, and we were standing behind. It's almost like he's smiling as he's running, taking on hits. It's like he embraces it. So he's a very talented kid, and we're going to have him for the rest of this year and next. He's going to be a great player.
Do you almost have to dial a kid like that back that just always it sounds like, just watching him, sounds like he loves the contact. You almost have to kind of dial that back to keep him healthy?
Yeah, well, we tell him that, don't try to keep running people over. Run away and go score a touchdown. He's just one of those kids that he loves contact. Yeah, but we do try to, tell him to say, hey, let's run away from a few guys rather than try to always run everybody over.
Hey, Coach, I got to ask, end of the game, obviously your guys were up 14-0 and did not seem to want to, lay off the pedal at all. Drake seemed to score and start to make a little bit of a comeback, but defensively you shut them down and then turn around and score. Now, end of the game comes. It was kind of fun to see everybody celebrating, and everything just stopped. And I saw you kind of hiding behind a coach, and you hopped out and jumped in front of the team, and obviously they went crazy again. Tell the fans a little bit about what you were doing and being on the field right there. Be quite honest with you. For most people in Billerica will hate me saying this, but for a minute I kind of felt like I was a Billerica Indian, and it was quite an awesome moment when he jumped up. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we talked about, we were, going to work hard and go to work and blue collar and all things like that. I actually had one of the hard hats, but I got locked in a room. I couldn't get into the room. So I'm scrambling, trying to get everyone ready to get on the bus. But I wanted the hard hat because we were, be put on the front of the bus, and it's like, we're going to work, blah, 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 and all things like that. And luckily, our principal was still there at like 10 minutes to 5. And I walked in his room. I'm like, Mr. Murph, I need your hard hat. I lost the other one in April's office. I couldn't get it. So he gave me the hard hat. He's like, hey, just bring home the W. We went out, and after the game, we just, I put the hard hat on, and the kids go crazy. And, it's just a little, thing that we do just to, show that we're hard working and we're blue collar, and, the kids embrace it and they get fired up when I put it on. So it's just a team thing. It's a positive thing for our teams. The kids love it.
Yeah, no, it was great to watch, great to be there, and obviously, going into next week, man, you guys definitely have the momentum, and those kids, I think, are feeling confident, as far as next steps.
Yeah, no, they definitely are feeling confident. We started out 0-2. We battled adversity with key injuries to a lot of good football players, and we've got a couple of them back, and hopefully get a couple more this week, and be at full strength and go play against a very, very, very good Tewksbury team, well coached, and a great program.
Coach, how far is the school away from all the construction being done?
So the school is actually, they're still knocking down the old school, so it's actually right. I mean, it's 100 feet away right now.
Yep.
With all the construction that's going on. So the physical new school's all set. It's just the stadium, and the rest of the stuff is going to go where they're taking down the rest of the school. Gotcha.
So, in terms of, you're saying new stadium as well?
Yeah, brand new stadium. It's state of the art.
Is that
it's the best high school in Massachusetts. There's nothing close to it. It's unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah.
Like full video stuff and everything, or just because of the?
It's just unbelievable. You can go any classroom you can go in, you can cast a video right on the TV. It's crazy.
That's fun.
New smart boards and auditoriums, like going to see a Broadway movie. It's unbelievable. Broadway show.
Is the
unbelievable.
the construction of the stadium supposed to be done for next year?
Yes, yeah, we should be playing next year at the new stadium.
Hey, tell me a little bit in terms of the turnover title belt. We got a picture of this week's winners up on the screen now. Dan Green and Sean Colby. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's it's our version of the Miami chain. We put the championship belt on any kid that gets an interception, a turnover. They get to either take the belt home or share the belt for the week, and it's just something to get the kids pumped up to, hopefully get us some defensive turnovers or touchdowns. And Chip Goodbender, Coach Kavanaugh, our defensive coordinator, brought to the program, and the kids love it.
You let them walk around school with the belt on like The Rock or anything?
No, we keep the belts and the footballs out of the hallways. We use the football for the football field.
Good idea. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Coach, I know you're not going to give away too much, but obviously Houlihan has been a huge asset for the last couple of years. He can throw the deep ball pretty much up there with anybody in the MVC or the state. Kind of puts you in a good position coming into this week against Tewksbury. We have Hamilton on the ground and Nolan able to throw the ball to Cyrus. Talk a little bit about having that senior leadership and a quarterback like that you can count on.
Yeah, well, Nolan, in my opinion, Nolan is the best quarterback in our conference. And, that's not a knock on any of the other ones because the MVC is the best league in the state. And, the best coach team in the state. And I respect everybody. But Nolan, has a great arm. He's mastered our offense in the league and the RPO game. And he just does a great job. And, a lot of people were knocking him because he didn't have, great games to start. But we weren't at full strength. And, the healthier we get, the better he's going to become. So it's just it's great to have him on our team. I wouldn't want to play against him.
Coach, how do you keep the team together when you've got the injuries happen, you've got guys coming back, but you're suffering the losses, and how do you keep those guys together and just to be able to turn it around like you have?
Well, we have Justin Beck and Sean Cohen. Played for me. They're on the coaching staff now, and they went through all the battles and won league championships. And having guys like that on staff, they're able to talk to the kids and say, hey, the season's not over. We haven't even gone into league play yet, and kept the kids hungry, kept their spirits up, and just practicing the positive image. And the kids really bought into it, and they continued to fight and work hard, and they've got themselves in a position now where they want to know in the MVC small, and it's a great position to be in.
Tim Wood, Bill Bryant here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, talking to Dwayne Sigsbury, the coach for the Billerica Indians. Bill, anything else from you before we let the coach go?
No, Coach, congrats. I appreciate the time after the game, and you got a heck of a program, and good luck. Good luck to the Indians moving forward.
Hey, I really appreciate it. And anything you guys ever need from me, just don't hesitate to call.
All right, before we let you go, you're down 116 pounds.
Yep.
Tell us, that's I'm doing quick math here, but that's about 35 sacks of potatoes.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
That was in the back of my that was on my back for all those years. But I just had to do it for my family, so I stick around. We lost my father-in-law last year, who was coaching on staff to lung cancer. I got to be around, and so the weight loss had to come off. And it hasn't been easy, but what I've been doing is working, and just going to keep no surgery. I didn't get any surgery like that. Strictly did it on my own, and it's just it's made me a better coach. I feel better and more active, and it's just good for everybody around me, and more important, it's good for me.
Well, it's certainly an inspiration, Coach. But Bill and I are both on our own weight loss journeys. I don't think together we're probably even 2/3 to you yet, but that's it's incredibly inspirational.
Yeah, Coach, you might have just given me a huge kick in the rear end to get back on track, because I've been going the other way lately, and I need to turn that back around.
do that. It's easy to go the other way. We have to, after every game, I'm like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. I'm like, oh, I can't eat that, I can't eat this. It's definitely worth it.
Absolutely, Coach. Huge thanks for getting on here with us after this week's win, and we'll be looking at you moving forward. Big game next week, and best of luck moving forward here as you get into the heart of the MVC schedule.
Absolutely, we appreciate it, and thanks for all you guys do for football.
All right.
So that's head coach Dwayne Sigsbury. Great interview. Just so much going on with this team, and you talk about the hard hat, the turnover title belt, the momentum coming, that they created with this game. Coach himself, just a legend with Bill Rucka, and shows that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. Down 116 pounds so far. It's that was a fun interview, Bill.
No, it was, Tim, and one of the things I'm really, really enjoying about the show is getting to know the coaches. Being a coach yourself, you don't really know your parents because you know the kids. So doing this show, and I'll be honest with you, being on the field after the game with John Houlihan, just watching the coach talk to the team, man, what a character, but in a real positive way. That coach knows his team. He knows his town. He knows how to motivate. And they are, when I say all eyes were on him, that situation where as a parent and you're talking to kids, you don't want kids talking on the side. You don't want them. He gets that. There is no one. They were all eyes on him. And when he hopped up with the hard hat and started bouncing up and down, you kind of wanted to start jumping up and down with them. And I'm a Ranger. I mean, here we are. My kid's playing in the same division. Obviously, we don't play Barica, but it was infectious. And Coach Sigsbury, hats off to him. And it's going to be a hell of a game next week because he's going to have those boys ready to go and ready to take on the Tewksbury team.
It's it's fun to watch it because obviously he knows, as you said, he knows his team. He knows how to motivate him. He knows when he's got to get firm with them. But to see a coach also be able to show that of himself and have fun, show the kids that he can also have fun with them, and still maintain that authority figure presence. It's definitely fun to see, and it's an example around the league for sure.
And he does that with the fans. I'm not going to get into why, but there was a little interchange with a fan that I was kind of like, okay, that's interesting. And one of the parents said, oh, there'll be a conversations later. But Sigsbury handled it like a true professional, and it was a really interesting situation to see, and I was quite impressed. I think he's a hell of a coach, and it was great to get to know him, in the short few minutes that we had.
Nice. All right, so we'll talk Lowell Chelmsford next. And then actually we'll just do Lowell Chelmsford, and then we'll do Central Andover, and just mention the Lawrence game in our final segment. Lowell Chelmsford up next. We'll take a quick break here. Be right back with you on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now right-in-place insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and MAPFRE, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? I just asked Val and his crew to find me a better auto and home insurance deal, and he connected me with Plymouth Rock, where I'm saving more than 40% over my previous insurance. Now, your results may vary, but give Davila and DeFusco a try. They pride themselves on having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or check them out at daviladefusco.com. Big shout out to the folks at AFC Urgent Care, Lisa Williams and her team over there. AFC Urgent Care, the right care right now. You'll never need an appointment. Got that persistent cough and cold, that cut that needs a few stitching, or need a sports physical and don't want to wait weeks to get into your primary doctor? AFC's streamlined approach helps you be seen quickly and feel better fast. In Methuen, in the Merrimack Street Medical Professionals Building, 380R Merrimack Street, in North Andover as well, in the Burton Grill Plaza, 8 to 8 Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 Saturday and Sunday. Go to afcurgentcare.com for more details. Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and Delfusco Insurance. Listen, I'm not kidding, folks. I said it in the commercial, but I called up Val Davila and the folks over there looking to switch up our home and our auto, and no joke. And again, your results may vary, but no joke, we saved over 40% total on our home and auto just by giving Val the chance to do some research and check out all of the different companies that they work for. So a great local company supporting youth athletics, and we love them. So Tim, Bill, back here with you. I was at Lowell. I was at Colley Stadium on Friday night for Lowell Chelmsford. Again, you want that to be a game, but I was there more because we wanted to see some of these Lowell guys in person. I know Ty obviously, but I want to see some of these guys that we've been hearing about in person, and they did not disappoint, Bill. I mean, they jumped out quick. 43-7. Now, obviously, that looks like it's all offense, but really the story of the game was the Red Raiders defense. 3 first-half takeaways, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 for a touchdown, a safety, Jacob Rivers with an interception, George Tristolaris, a fumble recovery, and then Louis Cademy and Jeremiah Santana combined for an end zone sack that was the safety. So, I mean, the defense just was absolutely lights out. Brendan Ty, the aforementioned Brendan Ty, intercepted, and we've got the play. We'll show it in a second, but, I mean, he intercepted an option pitch, a lateral pass. He intercepted it and went for 45 yards for a touchdown, which was just a great play, and you'll hear him explain how he saw it coming a little bit later here, but let's first hear from the head coach for Lowell, John Florence. Coach Florence, MVC Gridiron Weekly. I guess let's start out just overall in terms of how your team reacted off of a tough loss last week.
Yeah, they're Lowell kids. They're resilient. I didn't have any real concern that we were going to bounce back. I knew Chelmsford would be prepared and well coached. We were very fortunate to get off to a good start in the first quarter. Turnovers for us on defense, obviously the Brendan's play, the option return for the touchdown, then getting the safety on defense. The punt that followed, that preceded that rather, really set us in good position. So it was all 3 phases of the first quarter, and really set us up for the game and kind of put it out of hand at that point.
Have you seen a team execute so well when really, I won't say under pressure, but to get back in the winning column like that?
At different times, to see it all come in one chunk like that in the first quarter was unusual. You don't really see that. The big special teams plays, the defensive score, the fumble, and offense really playing well all at the same time.
Tell me a little bit about your quarterback, the leadership that you're seeing from him.
Yeah, he's a more of a lead by example type kid. Najai's pretty quiet in general, but kids really like him. He just is kind of a no nonsense. Just does his job. Works every day, and he's continuing to get better. He's got a lot of room for growth. He keeps working at it though.
Tell me a little bit about. Speak a little bit about Aaron. and just the growth that you're seeing week to week to week ever since. I read Carmine's article, fantastic article, and just tell us about the growth that you're seeing continually from him.
Yeah, it's very obvious to see just the way he kind of acts and carries himself, his body language. He's so much more confident now. Just in a month and a half of football and 4 games of experience, he's a very bright kid, and obviously he has the athletic ability. He's got the work ethic. He's such a high character kid. He's a pleasure to have.
You obviously that this Chelmsford's got some weapons, and they've shown it, and you guys capitalized on some mistakes, but I mean your line owned it. I mean, talk a little bit about the defense and how they really set the tone.
Yeah, like you said, Chelmsford definitely has some weapons. They're well coached. They got that first series they hit that RPO and they get a big gain. If we don't make a tackle there, it could be a whole different story. So we try to coach them one play at a time. You never know what's going to be a big play in the game, so just focus on that one thing. And we were fortunate enough right after that to get the turnover. And, they definitely have some weapons. They'll be a good team for the rest of the year.
Bill Ricca beat Drake tonight. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
So things are a little wide open, obviously, on that side of the bracket. Just in terms of, and I know I heard you saying the one game at a time, so you kind of filled the bingo card there. But just tell us in terms of how you can say that, but how do you get the kids to truly live that?
I don't know. Again, I don't think I'm that
Is that
good
the
enough
secret
of a
sauce?
coach to really look that far ahead. It's a lot to prepare for a game during a week. There's so many different aspects, especially the way offenses have changed. The last 10 to 15 years, there's so many things to kind of prepare for, and it's a relatively short week. Monday is more of an install, walkthrough. A lot of things are new. Tuesday tends to be a little slower for us because there are new game plan things going in. By Wednesday, hopefully we're doing well, and Thursday, you're kind of just cleaning things up because you're ready to go Friday night. It's a short week, so we're just focused on what we have to do, and control what we control. Just focus on the task at hand.
Who's next for you?
Central Catholic.
Tell us a little bit in terms of without game planning it. I mean, what is your message in terms of just the overall preparation needed there?
It's the same thing we do every week. They're loaded with talent. They got kids from everywhere. We know that, but we just play one play at a time. We'll kind of figure out what their tendencies are. We'll go from there, and it's all we can do is execute one play at a time.
Anything else you want to get out there that we didn't cover?
No, I think we're good. Thank you guys for being here tonight.
Absolutely. So there is head coach John Florence covering a lot of ground, and one thing that stood out for me was just that in both of our games, Bill, you could hear the wind in the background as we're doing the interviews. It was about 15 miles per hour at you. Probably a little less in Lowell, but definitely not what I was expecting for an early October night.
No, Tim, actually, you were a little smarter, and you saw some tweets from the games going on. I actually headed out with a light windbreaker and a pair of shorts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
going to play the back nine.
We'll just say that at halftime, I definitely scooted out to the vehicle, and I was like Rambo going through the little shack trying to find fabric from my seats and whatever I could find in my car because it was cold, and behind us was the baseball field that Drake was watering. So we had a nice cool mist coming off the ocean, and it was freezing cold. One of the moms, John's wife, was wearing what she wore for Thanksgiving Day game last year, and if you remember, some of the games got moved to Wednesday night because of how cold it was.
It was brutal.
And she was dressed up like an Eskimo.
So cold in the stands, but one of the guys that continues to be hot on the field is the surprise star for the Lowell Red Raiders. Here's Aaron Morris after the game.
Very cool.
Here with Aaron Morris. Just making sure. I've read about you. I've watched the tape to see it in person. Just kind of, tell us just about the thrill that you're feeling every time you touch the ball.
excited. First of all, I'm surprised. I want to take it to the house. Very excited.
Your exposure to football. I was reading Carmine's article, great article, and just in terms of you going to the games last year, what is it like to be living that dream in terms of saying to yourself, I want to be part of this, and now you're not only part of it, but a huge part of it?
It's great. I mean, I dream of this day like forever. And since I came up here, I was like, I'm not going to play any sports, and then I came to one of these games and I like it. Yeah, and then I said, all right, I'm going to try and get in the weight room, make sure I'm here every morning and getting strong for this day.
What is it most about football that you like?
I like scoring touchdowns and getting interceptions. Yeah, I like it.
It's got to be pretty amazing to see that hole and know that you can hit it, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great.
And you did tonight.
Yes, sir.
Tell me just a little bit about tonight in terms of what you saw from your team and how you guys delivered.
Tonight, we were all ready. All week, we're getting ready to dominate. And then we came here and just did that. Yeah.
What's been the hardest part for you in terms of learning the game, getting up to speed? In terms of just you've had to grasp a lot quickly.
Understanding the plays on offense and defense. Yeah. That's all.
Any shout outs for anybody other than your teammates?
Yeah, I want to shout out my father for always motivating me, my mother as well, and my teammates. Yeah.
Now your mother was a sprinter in Jamaica?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So what are the names?
Patricia Vaughn and Horace Morris.
Awesome. Just got to get the names out there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So that's Aaron Morris, and really one of my favorite stories so far this season around the MVC, Bill. I mean, a kid who never touched a football before the first 7-on-7s of the year this year, and comes from a family of sprinters in Jamaica. You can hear the Jamaican accent for sure, and he's just picked up the game so quick, and already with two. Two kickoff returns for the season, including one in this game.
Yeah, what an incredible story. I've heard the game, I've seen the game, but you know what he said though, Tim? And when I talked to Coach Florence, the same thing. When he got here and he decided he wanted to play, he hit the weight room and started doing the off-season training. So it doesn't matter. Sprinter, great athlete, but you have to be in football shape. So a great thing to hear, but for someone so new, already talking about hitting the weight room, and that's what Coach Florence said. The moment he decided to play football, he saw him every day walking to the weight room, hanging out with his teammates, and just getting into that football shape, which is kind of fun to hear.
So you see at the end of the kickoff return touchdown against Chelmsford there. A huge thank you to Coach Lawrence for that, for sending us some tape after the game. Now, one of the plays that we wanted to talk about that Coach talked about and was really cool was the Brendan Ty the Brendan Ty lateral interception. Here's that. We'll play that first and then talk a little bit with him. So, Bill, talk a little bit in terms of Brendan Ty. I mean, he just he read this play perfectly and just took it to the house.
Yeah, no, Tim, Brendan's your non-quarterback leader on the field. He doesn't play that QB position, but he throws, he runs, he catches. He's a great athlete. Obviously, he just committed to UNH this year, so to be able to do that, you have to be a hell of a talent. I've seen Brendan on the basketball court for many years, as well as he is a really, really top lacrosse player in the area as well. I've seen him play lacrosse against my son Connor for multiple years, so he's a kid that, is just an athlete. So hearing that, hey, I read that play and I predicted it to happen, I'm not surprised.
Here's what he had to say to us after the game. Here with Brendan Ty. Brendan, first off, tell us about the game in terms of what you saw from your team responding to a tough loss last week.
So, we obviously grinded out Methuen last week. It was a tough game, kept it close, whatever. We're going to move on this week. Chelmsford's always tough. They're having a little down year, but they come in every year and play us good. So, we responded very well. It's a hell of a first quarter from us. O, D, special teams. We came out, practiced hard all week, and we executed that today, so it worked out for us.
Have you been part of a game where you guys made such an emphatic statement so quickly?
Not off the top of my head. But yeah, today was something special. I remember we played Chelmsford my sophomore year, and it was something like that, close game, but we made a few big plays early and ended up with the win.
In terms of you personally, what is the recovery been getting back from injury, and just the feelings actually having to watch it and now being back on the field?
I mean, it's super tough. Like hamstring, I mean, it's like one of those things. It's just like tough. Like you never know when you're at 100% until you're in like your final gear. So I'm still actually recovering. It was a little sore tonight, but
sure.
I've been going to PT, all that. I actually see state legislator Ratty Mom. He specializes in like Chinese healing. He's been helping me out. It's pretty cool.
Look at you name dropping. Very nice. Yeah. In terms of you had some plays you don't see all the time tonight. You picked off a lateral pass, ran it back. You had the Derek Brooks type play that how coach described it. Tell us about being part of those type of plays where it's all about anticipation and execution.
I mean, I got to credit obviously the coaching staff on that lateral pick play that I took to the house. I mean, we ran, and the scout team all week. We rep that. They tell that with their motion. So I mean, we rep that all week. So I knew it was coming. It was a big play, and then obviously just being in the right place at the right time. So it worked out.
Any shout outs you want to give?
I mean, obviously my family, the boys. I mean, everyone played well tonight. Neil at QB. Obviously the line played very well. Kevin's been an animal on D. Rivers. I mean, obviously all the coaches again. But yeah, it's just all around team effort. It's been awesome.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So there's Brandon Ty. In case you haven't heard, he's committed to UNH for next year, but a lot left to do for him to hopefully get the Red Raiders in playoff contention this year. Let's hear from quarterback Najee Neal. Najee Neal, MVC Gridiron Weekly. So tell me just a little bit about the flow of the game and what you saw from your team.
We came out hard, played aggressive. We executed every play, Got a shout out to linemen. They did their thing. We all did our thing out there.
In terms of just the team gelling and the week of practice, coming together, you guys are on a roll now. Tell me just a little bit about the how you felt the offense performed tonight.
The offense performed good as hell. Like we executed every play. Linemen, receivers did a good job blocking and all that.
When you see Ty making the interception of the lateral pass, that sort of stuff makes it a little easier on the scoreboard, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
In terms of the hustle that you see from the team, tell me just a little bit about the work that's going into each game and the results that you're seeing in the field.
It all starts in practice. We work hard in practice, go balls to the wall, and then games come easy for us.
How do you feel you're growing into the leadership role on the team here?
I feel like I'm growing in good. Like I'm a leader, good in school, don't get in trouble, all that. All starts in school, student athlete.
It's the way to be. In terms of just where you guys sit in the MVC, how you feeling in terms of the competition you've seen so far?
Competition, not that really much competition. There's some games where we've been down, and some games where we've been up, like today.
Awesome. Anyone else you want to shout out before I let you go?
Shout out my family, shout out linemen, shout out receivers, shout out the whole team.
Excellent. Congratulations. Great. So you're hearing the wind again. It was crazy windy on Friday night, but we got one more interview from the Red Raiders. Kevin Rosary, the running back who had a big game for Lowell. Tell me about your end zone, your end zone visits.
I wouldn't do it without my big dogs, my linemen. So.
Who's the shout out to the linemen? Who are we talking about?
Shout out Rat, Lewis, Cam, and Ben.
How you feeling about the way the team's coming together at this point?
It feels good. We have a good connection. Everything's good. We have a good connection with the coaches. Everyone's bonding and just work as a unit.
Tell me a little bit about Aaron
Oh,
in terms
man.
of
Oh, Aaron, he's a special kid. He's loving, hard worker, shows up every day. He's just a great kid all around.
Awesome.
Great football player.
So, Bill, a lot from the Lowell players afterwards. Are we setting ourselves up for the same sort of thing next week in terms of feeling like the Andover Central Catholic game this week? I mean, can Lowell, from what you've seen, can they compete?
I mean, you heard Coach Florence say they're deep, and I know I get crap for it when I say it, but they are, and he said they got kids from all over. So, for anyone to hang with Central, you have to have all facets of the game play well. They can't
You
start
have to have
the
your
game.
perfect game.
Yeah, they can't start like they did against North Andover, and North Andover jumped all over them, and you get crushed. Obviously beating Chelmsford, who's down, is not necessarily a situation. But then you see Billerica beats Bishop Fee and turns it into a Drake-it win.
Yep.
Drake-it Central, not really the same type of an opponent, but I know Central's had a couple of injuries, Tim, and all that. But let's put it in perspective. They recruit. I'm sorry, they get new classes of kids every year. I didn't mean recruit like that terms, but they get new classes of kids every year from all over. They're bringing in studs. I mean, you have a senior quarterback in Jared Saverio transfer out. You have a sophomore who is ready to go, ready to play. Name another city or town that has that type of a depth. They just don't, because they're kind of getting their players from one zip code. It makes it a little bit more challenging, where Central doesn't really necessarily have that down year after they were in the state title game or lose to one of the other Catholic schools to get bounced from the state tournament. So does Lowell have the tools? Yeah, they have some really good players. Quarterback is inexperienced and is learning the game. They have a line that's pretty young, but they got some components to that team that are very good football players. But to beat a team like Central, you have to have a very good football team and execute all facets the whole game. Methuen hung with them a couple years ago and had a bad fourth quarter and ended up losing the game. So you can't have that letdown at all against a school like Central.
Hey, Bill, one thing I want to hit on real quick. I don't want to talk about this too long, but I mean, an article came out in Lowell Sun this week that Lowell is the mandates come down from Central administration, from the superintendent. They're rethinking the Red Raiders name. They're doing some research, and they've kind of advised all of the teams to do away with any of the imagery that has to do with the Indian heritage around the Red Raider name. I mean, any thoughts in terms of the nickname, in terms of what they may end up doing here?
Honestly, Tim, growing up in Lawrence, Lancers, it was kind of a benign name, but you definitely had Lancer pride. Now living in Methuen and with my kids growing up here, Methuen Rangers, you do your research and you understand what the Rangers meant to Methuen and their impact on our settlement here and the colonies and their walk from Methuen all the way to Concord and Lexington. Kind of an exciting little piece of history that you want to share. I honestly, Tim, I'm going to get killed for saying this, but while in Billerica, I was thinking about how there's no chance Billerica is ever going to change that name.
Yeah.
It just for whatever reason that thought came to me as I'm in the stands and listening to the parents and they're all in it. They're supporting, and I guess really it's up to each and every community and where that community kind of stands. I do struggle. I look at what is the intent behind the purpose of it, and there's a lot of insensitive things that get said a lot, and to me, those things are the things that I don't want to have any part of.
Sure.
But a name of a school that's been around for so long, is it really is it, and I'm not, obviously I'm not Indian, and I don't know how that affects. I mean, there's other derogatory and insensitive things that are said that just aren't acceptable, So I think it's really up to the community and kind of what they decide as a whole. But I know it's going to be a tough thing to go through, because some people don't view it as something that's negative, and it's been part of their history for their whole life, for the people that have grown up in Lowell. So interesting, and I'm going to watch carefully and listen to both sides.
They've been in the red and grays. They've been the Raiders. They've been the Millers. They're the Red Raiders right now. Red and grays is being discussed again. So we'll see how it plays out. It's, I feel like it. Some folks will say if you change one, you got to change them all. I feel like it's an individual community debate, and they're obviously having it now in Lowell. So a big game next week for them. They will take on Central Catholic. We will take on the Central Catholic Andover game when we get back here. We'll take a quick break. Come back at you on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now right-in-place insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and MAPFRE, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? I just asked Val and his crew to find me a better auto and home insurance deal, and he connected me with Plymouth Rock, where I'm saving more than 40% over my previous insurance. Now, your results may vary, but give Davila and DeFusco a try. They pride themselves on having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or check them out at daviladefusco.com. Big shout out to the folks at AFC Urgent Care, Lisa Williams and her team over there. AFC Urgent Care, the right care right now. You'll never need an appointment. Got that persistent cough and cold, that cut that needs a few stitching, or need a sports physical and don't want to wait weeks to get into your primary doctor? AFC's streamlined approach helps you be seen quickly and feel better fast. In Methuen, in the Merrimack Street Medical Professionals Building, 380R Merrimack Street, in North Andover as well, in the Burton Grill Plaza, 8 to 8 Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 Saturday and Sunday. Go to afcurgentcare.com for more details. Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim, Bill, and you talking MVC football action. Hey, want to hit on it real quick. Not much to talk about here. 28-0 Dennis Yarmouth over Lawrence. You see it up on the screen. They've got a kid, Jeffrey Yamil, Division I recruit. He scored 3 touchdowns in the game for the Dolphins. Eric Sanchez led the Lancers defense, 2 sacks, 6 total for the season. Isaiah Richards and Manny Lara had some big catches to spark Lancers drives. They got inside the Dolphins 30 twice, but they turned the ball over both times. And Dewey Baez, also a big defensive effort for the Lancers. Lawrence and Haverhill will battle next week, the battle of the winless to see, and both with some tough luck losses, especially to start the season. We'll see who can get in the win column. So our last game of the week is the Central Catholic Andover game, and again a game that the Golden Warriors were hoping was going to be competitive, and the Finneran brothers, the twins, they kind of jumped right out and had an answer for that right away. Connor Finneran, playing his first game of the year after coming back from a back injury, The senior has 3 catches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. His first 2 varsity touchdowns. You'll hear him talk about that in a little bit. His brother, Mike Finneran, actually threw a 30-yard halfback pass to Connor for the touchdown, and Mike Finneran also had a 52-yard interception return touchdown. So big day for the Finneran twins. Mark Ciccarelli, an interception, a 32-yard return to the end over 5-yard line. Aiden Pereira, as we talked about, our Week 2 MVP, he went 16 for 22, 246 yards, 2 touchdown passes, 11 carries, 71 rushing yards for Pereira as well. Nick Donadio, 4 catches, 115 yards, 56-yard touchdown catch. Also some to end the game, two plays. Lincoln Beal, a 51-yard touchdown catch from Victor Harrington, and then George Shia, the junior, he ended the game. And this was not the Raiders running up to score as some I heard saying on social media afterwards. This was a play that was really meant to run right into the line. And, I mean, you still have to defend it. And instead, Shia broke free for 60 yards for a touchdown to end the game. So,
Tim, I'll add to that a little bit. George is a Methuen kid. I know the family well. Not a showboat, not a bad kid. And at that point, you're right. That kid gets his chance to run the ball. He's not going to go half speed. He's not going to risk getting nailed or getting hit. Good coaches, scale back and start giving your sophomores and your other kids, more chances and not good for him for scoring late like that, but good for him. The kid got a 60-yard touchdown and got himself some good experience. And you're right, you got to play the game.
Let's hear from Coach Chuck Adamopoulos first out of the gate. A bunch of post-game interviews we got right after the game.
You got it.
Coach A, great win today. Tell me just in terms of how you felt your team stepped up here.
No, this is a quality win because I think we beat a quality team today. They're a good football team, and it helped that we jumped out early and played with a lead. But I'm happy because defensively we haven't been thrilled with how we've been playing, and I thought we improved today defensively against a good offensive team, against a very good running back, and other weapons that they have. And I thought we defended the run probably the best we have so far this year, and that was a step in the right direction. And we had some good play by kids. We missed a couple of guys today that got hurt last week, and we had some guys step up. I know you just interviewed one of the Finnerans. Both those kids played well today, and a lot of different kids contributed today.
Absolutely. In terms of, folks will. It's easy. We'll say it's easy to game study a guy like Ramos. How do you game study a guy like Slayton? That's just everywhere.
No, Slayton's a really good football player, and he really jumped out at me as an inside linebacker. I was very impressed watching him on film at linebacker, and he does everything for them on offense. He's a good blocker, and they put him in different places. So they're a good team. They're gonna win a lot of games this year. We could end up seeing them again in the playoffs, and it'll be a tough game, if we do. But this was a good win today. I'm really proud of the kids because, again, I came in here. This was, I think it's the large school is wide open.
Oh yeah.
Methuen a good team. I know Haverhill's getting guys back from injuries. I'm not sure how that game ended up. I know it was close at the half, I had heard.
Tight.
We got Lowell next week, who's looks like they're together. They've got a lot of weapons in their team, and Lawrence and Thanksgiving's down the road. But it's large school's wide open, and every large school game you got to be ready to go.
In terms of how your guys stepped up for JJ and just the next man up in terms of guys filling roles today, talk a little bit about those guys.
We had JJ's an outside linebacker receiver for us. And he's very important to both of them. And Nick Palmer has done a really good job. He jumped into the game last week and did well, and I thought he played pretty solid again today. And Kevin Higgins started last week his first game because we moved Don Petty back to the D-line, which has helped our D-line a lot. And Kevin, I think, is improving too. So those two guys are doing a good job. And, Mark Kazis, I know you had him on your show last week, is like our unsung guy. He does it all at running back. He's the guy at linebacker, and he's just always is steady and always is productive for us.
Felt bad for not interviewing him today, but we had him. We've had him on.
He's had his share.
One and a half times now. So.
No, he's definitely had his share.
In terms of just what you see ahead for this team, what are the things that you guys you're still feeling? I mean, you look at the school board, that says a lot, but in terms of what you still feel they need to work on.
We got to get better as far as the penalties. We have a lot of little penalties that come up, like we had someone line up and cover someone, so we had a legal man downfield on that touchdown pass at the beginning of the game that got called back. So too many little things like that we're still cleaning up. A little bit at times missing some assignments on defense. That was better today, but we still have to get cleaner with that.
Absolutely. Anybody else you want to shout out? Any unsung heroes we didn't mention?
No, a kid I'd like to mention is Nick Muller, our center. Actually, it's Mueller, but I'm so used to calling him Muller, I always do that. He's been very steady for us in the middle of the line. And the center sometimes gets neglected. I was a center when I played. I felt neglected as well. So
I'll called out of the penalties.
That's right. Well, everyone knows a bad snap when they see it, but I'm going to give Nick a shout out because he's done a good, steady job for us.
Absolutely. All right, Coach.
All right,
congratulations.
Tim, thank you very
Pleasure.
much.
Absolutely. So there's Coach A. Bill, you know, they continue to dominate.
No, Tim, Chuck's been around for a long time, coaching for a lot of years. They've got talent, and you still have to coach the talent too, though. So as much as I talk about depth, you know, you still have to have good coaching and put kids in the right positions to do the right job, and they continue to have the pieces, and they continue to put them in the right spot. And you know, Andover is tough. I don't think anybody expected a 42-7. You know, kind of a beating. So we're going to see the next couple of weeks and see where the other teams, you know, hang with them. As far as Central's schedule, you know, they played some legit state teams in the beginning of the year. So they're definitely battle tested, and you know, like every other team, they've got some injuries they have to overcome, but they also have some of that depth to be able to handle that a little bit better than others.
Let's talk to we mentioned them, the Finneran twins. First up, Connor. Connor Finneran, MVC Gridiron Weekly. Tell me a little bit in terms of just the win today. You guys stepped it up with JJ out.
We just came in this week. We know when we got to win. It's nice to be back at home, but it's always nice to get a good, nice score and come out with the dub.
What do you think overall in terms of how the team reacted today?
I think we came out with the right intensity all week to prepare and practice and everything. And we came out, we were ready to go.
For those who haven't touched the end zone, who haven't felt that exhilaration, just give us your thoughts on getting the end zone.
Well, that was my first touchdown varsity too, so it was pretty special. I just got up and I just remember it was crazy. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah. Can you even remember it? Did your hands get numb?
I wouldn't say that. I just it was a little hard to get up. Everyone was trying to pick me up, and I was really tired. Truly, 60 yards down the field.
He's so handsome. Oh my God!
Absolutely.
What a cute
Great
kid.
job. Mike Finneran, MVC Gridiron Weekly. Mike, just tell me in terms of how the team stepped up and you stepped into a couple new roles here. Great option play there. I mean, tell me a little bit in terms of just how you felt the team stepped up today.
We had a few guys injured, but I feel like we worked really hard this week in practice and we put it all together for the game. And we felt really confident in the first half. We wanted to put them away, so that was good.
In terms of that option play, tell me how that shook out.
I didn't know how it was going to go at first. Then I saw Connor down the field, and I just threw it up to him, hoping he was going to catch it.
For the uninformed among us, any relation?
To Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're twins.
Yeah. just want to get it out there. So, being able to share that and have that moment, you know, in terms of sharing a touchdown together, what's that like?
It was pretty exciting. I was happy. I haven't felt like that in a while in sports, so that was good. 'Cause you don't really get to do a lot of things together. Like in a different sport, you don't really get to work together in one play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody comes together in a play, but when it features the two of you, that's at the end of it. That's pretty special, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just tell me in terms of how the defense stepped up and how you felt that you guys handled Ramos and Slayton and just the whole Andover crew.
We knew BB was going to be really quick and shifty, so we knew we had to get good pursuit angles of him and just fly to the ball and team tackle.
Anybody else anybody you want to shout out that I didn't ask you about?
On our team?
Yeah.
Everyone, just the whole line. I would say the linebackers did really good too, because the outside linebackers have to cover. They did a good job. Kevin Higgins made a good play on Calvin Davila.
Excellent. Some more names out there. Bill, we could have very easily put the Raiders defense in as an MVP candidate this week. I mean, they had 3 picks in the game. And more importantly, they held Ramos to 32 yards, a kid who's just gone crazy on the stat sheet the first 4 weeks of the season. They held him to 32 yards.
Yeah, Tim, when you're talking about a defensive performance, sometimes in a week it's hard if they're going like Nolan Houlihan throwing for 300 against Bishop Fee, and some of the critics were, oh, well, the team wasn't very good, but he still threw for 300 yards.
Yes, he did.
Against, so it's like, don't take it away. Central's defense not only had a great game, but they played against a team that's ranked, in the top 20 in the state, and has quarterbacks and a top tier running back, has a good solid line, great coaching. So not only was it a great number, of defensive plays and stats, but they played against a team that is kind of up there as far as a ranked team.
All right, a couple more interviews before we say our piece on this game. Aiden Pereira next up. Aiden Pereira, MVC Gridiron Weekly. Just tell us a little bit in terms of the win today, how you felt the team reacted.
It was a big win starting the MVC season. We knew we needed to start strong, and this could put us in first place, I believe. So it was very crucial. Get 3-1 too.
Absolutely. In terms of just reacting with JJ out and the injuries, and how do you feel the team stepped up and guys stepped into their roles?
Yeah, the common theme was kind of just play for JJ, and I felt that the O-line did great. All the receivers caught everything and blocked. Everyone played well, so we kind of rallied behind that, and we wish him the best and hope he can come back soon.
When everybody's getting up for you guys are the target for every game. You guys are the Super Bowl for every game in terms of the MVC. You got a photo of our. In terms of just that pressure, how do you embrace that pressure?
We don't really look that far ahead. We kind of just try and stay in the moment, take each game at a time, and just keep playing one game at a time, one day at a time at practice, and just going all out, and good things will come.
How do you feel in terms of yourself today? In terms of how you delivered?
I think I did pretty good. I know the O lineman. I couldn't do it without the O lineman. I couldn't have done it without the O lineman. Michael Sater, Uwe, Jack Sullivan, Nick Mueller, and George Cosman.
Any other specific shout outs you want to give?
I just gave you a shout out, Udi, so please stop talking.
They don't come!
Yeah, Nate Hebert always holding my towel was very good. That was clutch. Mike Finner, both Finner and Connor coming back was big. Mike played a big game, never playing receiver before. That was very good.
Congratulations. So, got some photo bombers in the interview. He got kissed by one of his teammates on the cheek, so they were certainly happy after the game. We got one more interview. Nick Donadio had a big game receiving, always strong on defense. Let's hear from him. Nick Donadio, Tim Wood, MVC Gridiron Weekly. Tell me in terms of just the win, in terms of how you guys stepped up on the road here against Andover.
We had a couple key guys out this week, so we got after it this week. Everyone was tuned in. Everyone was all about it. Everyone showed up today, and I'm just happy how we played.
Is Mike Finneran still around, by the way? It's
Michael Finneran!
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
In terms of, just tell me in terms of what you saw from your defense today.
The D-line was unreal. Unreal. I can't shout out the D-line enough. Jermaine Wiggins, Dom Petty, and Uwe, and Brendan Society were all lights out on the D-line today, so they really set the tone for us. So that was huge.
You obviously keying a little bit on Ramos.
Yeah.
Was that the film study?
Yeah, that was the film study all week. I mean, it was Ramos, BB all week. So, I mean, I thought we did pretty good containing him. So, I'm happy with how we showed up and played against him.
How do you feel just in terms of the team stepping up in JJ's absence and just everybody stepping into the next role?
I mean, JJ, that's my brother. That's my best friend. So, I mean, seeing him go down was probably one of the toughest things I've experienced in sports. So, I mean, having a buddy like that go down really is heartbreaking. So, we're going to dedicate the rest of the season to him. That's our guy.
MVC season, good. Obviously, a good start to
it.
Yeah. In terms, tell me just in terms of the tough games you had, the tough competition you had to start the season, how that prepared you for MVC time.
Well, I mean, our first 3 games were, like you said, a pretty tough schedule. So, getting onto this now, working into the MVC, I'm happy with where we're at as a group, and I think we're just going to get better week by week, everyone.
All right, Bill. So that is the Raiders after the game. And again, thanks to Coach A, to Ernie DiFiore, and the coaching staff for helping us corral a bunch of players after the game. Bill, can they be beat?
Absolutely, Tim. I think any team can be beat with a good game plan. I just think the tough part for Central is you have to play a good game. You can't have the turnovers that some of these early games are. I think for Andover, they got them in week 4, week 5. So at that point, you have to be ready. And Tim, I go back and I hate doing this, but this is kind of our job. I think I'm just so confused by the quarterback controversy. There's got to be something else brewing there. If Harrington was hurt, or if he was half speed, that's fine. But it sounds like he's healthy, and it's very confusing. And I don't understand why you'd want to go into a game like Central. I know they had a couple of losses, so maybe I don't know. It's just really confusing. So I think Lowell's in a good situation. They had a good, solid game against Methuen. They had a big, huge game against Chelmsford where they put up some numbers. So as far as confidence goes, they're going to be ready. I think the key is you got to come out and you got to do something different. I think when you play a game that you're supposed to not win, you can't be conservative. It's a 4th and 1 at the 50-yard line. Don't punt the ball. Go for it. Give your kids confidence and do things that are going to dictate the game, not late in the 4th quarter, because what it feels like is Central beats you up in the 1st quarter and they just start rolling. If you can hang on and fight them back in the 1st quarter and make a game about it, all of a sudden we're watching Rocky against Ivan Drago, and it's a knockout drag-out fight. I think someone needs to grab them by the collar and say, not today. You're not going to beat us up today. We're going to fight you. On the football field. And I think that's what happens. I think sometimes kids start hanging their heads and they just lose the game themselves. And I think good coaching and game plan, that they're definitely beatable, but not on a 50% day or a 70% day. You have to have your A+ game ready to go and have a good, solid game plan. And I think the other thing that I've seen is Central is very good. They have a ton of coaches. They have a ton of high-quality coaches, and they come out in the second half and they make adjustments. And you have to be, as a coaching staff, you have to be prepared not only to make your own adjustments, but also be ready for theirs. And I don't think some staff have been able to do that and hang with them.
All right, so that's our say on Central Catholic Andover. We will take a quick break. We will wrap it up by telling you who are the nominees for MVC MVP this week. We'll take a look at next week's schedule and then get out of here after a busy week around the MVC. It's MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and Tefusco Insurance. Hey, I want to tell you about Jen Hamilton, the realtor for Keller Williams Realty. She's licensed in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and she's a big supporter of all things local, especially youth sports. She's a big backer for Central Catholic and Methuen athletics, but she's a household name around the Merrimack Valley. Hey, the autumn market is in full swing. If you are thinking of selling, now is the time. Inventory is an all-time low, making this a seller's market. In a seller's market, there's a greater chance for a bidding war on your home. So put Jen Hamilton's 33-plus years of experience to work for you today by calling for a free, no-obligation market analysis of your home. Call Jen at 508-954-7941. A huge supporter of youth athletics. Listen, her record speaks for itself. She's one of the top sellers in the region for Keller Williams Realty. Hamilton is a household word. Call her at 508-954-7941. The final segment here of MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance, also presented by Realtor Jen Hamilton of the Keller Williams Realtors. Now, I want to tell you, we are going to talk about our MVP candidates in a second here. We are not going to read through all of our honor roll honorees this week. Go online on Mondays, usually Monday afternoon, and you will see the full honor roll, our top picks from every team in action the week before. And that honor roll is presented by Realtor Jen Hamilton. So a huge shout out to Jen and plenty of accolades to go around. People seem to really like that and seem to click the heck out of it. So you will see that on Mondays.
It's a box score on steroids. So it is. It just does a better job of our honor roll. Does a better job of giving the highlights of the game. So parents really do want to click on that, and you do a really good job of getting like little defense. A box score doesn't say that. A box score doesn't tell the story of a game, where you're able to do that in the honor roll and give little shout outs here and there, and give one to a kid who maybe didn't even make the box score but had 15 tackles and a couple of deflections, and that's why our box score our honor roll just beats the heck out of everyone else's box score.
Hey, and not for nothing, we want to just I don't want to say we want to issue a challenge, but I mean, hats off to folks last week. We want to keep growing the MVC MVP voting. 768 total votes last week. Was that somewhere right in the
yeah?
We're
going up. We're going up over 200 every week.
Yeah.
So we started out, 300, then 500, now 700, and we're probably. My prediction is we're probably going to be right around 1,000.
And not for nothing. You pointed out we beat one of Danny Ventura, Mr. High School Sports himself, Danny Ventura. We beat out one of his polls.
29-year veteran guy is no joke, knows his stuff. And I might have saw he had a poll about the best private school out there, and I was looking at it, and I went to go vote, and I noticed the number of voters, and I said, Tim, we beat Danny V by over 100 votes. This is kicker. This kills it. So, yeah. And
not that we're bragging or gloating or anything. That's just a huge shout out to the fans of the show that have really embraced not just this poll, but even just when we asked you who you think we're going to win the games, we put that on Fridays, and you just jumped all over that. So we've had this up for about 4 hours so far on Sunday. Over 300 votes now, and it has shifted dramatically the same way it did while we were on the air last week. It seems like the Bill Ricca folks, they wake up and just start clicking, because Shane Aylward was in the lead, and then right behind was Connor Finneran, and now it is a three-way race between Brian Hamilton, who's currently in first, Connor Finneran, Shane Aylward, all bunched right in there together. And then, folks, give the defense some love. The Lowell defense is our final nominee.
And they're not far behind either. They got 18% of the vote.
So, first of all, shout out to Colby Cyrus, who from Billerica. He 220 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns and an interception. He was the MVP winner last week. Rallied to win the fan vote and also took Hector's vote, so he became the winner last week. As we mentioned, the nominees, and we can kind of give a shout out for each one of them. Bill, why should folks vote for Shane Aylward?
Tim, I think Shane for me is easy. He's going to be my vote for the week. I mean, I was at the Barica game. I saw Hamilton and taking nothing away from him, but Aylward is probably going to be on this list week in and week out. Tough opponent in North Andover, and he just is so good in every facet of the game. A 90-yard touchdown return, defensive play, defensive stops, touchdowns. He's a kid that, to me, in every sense of the word, is an Iron Man on that football field.
I will make the pitch on Connor Finneran. I mean, it just, with J.J. Mercury out, huge addition back into the lineup for the Raiders, and Connor Finneran stepped up huge for them. 3 receptions, 72 yards, his first 2 varsity touchdowns, and just a big lift. The Finneran brothers together. Maybe could have put them up together, but we went with Connor. There's my pitch for Connor. Bill.
All right, hold on, Tim. I'm getting a call right now. It's actually Hector. Hector's calling in right now. He's got a Red Sox hat on, and I'm going to speak for Hector as he's talking into my ear. Hector is going to go for the voting. He's going to go with Brian Hamilton. The Barica people are going to come out and vote for Brian Hamilton, and he's going to pull it off just like last week when I picked Colby Cyrus. And
is that Hector's, for real?
No, not at
all.
Not for real. I'm just giving Hector a hard time.
Make the case for the Lowell Red Raiders defense, Bill.
Tim, great game, ton of great plays. I can't. You know what I mean? They dominated Chelmsford. Chelmsford, if you saw the week before, Chelmsford was 15-12 against Drake-It, and just turned the ball over and made a ton of mistakes. I'm really excited about their new coach. I think Chelmsford's a big town, and he can make a comeback. But Pop Warner-wise, they're splitting with Westford. The town itself is not supporting football the way they had in the past. It's going to be really hard for him to bring that all the way back to the prominence it was in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. So, although Lowell put together a great first quarter, it's against a team that's really struggling, and I really have a hard time saying that defense beats an all-purpose of almost 200 yards.
Should I not even have put him on the poll? Is that what you're saying? Or?
No, I think, it was great to have their coach on, all their players. They got some great stories. Brendan Ty is no joke as a player. But as far as you asking me to...
How do they rank, in this week? Yeah.
They are right in where they deserve to be. I think they had a great game against an opponent that is hurting a little bit. So I think them finishing 4th is right where they belong.
Oh, all right. I'll tell you what, Red Raider fans, show them wrong. Show them wrong if you don't agree.
Hey, I'm telling you right now, Coach Sigsbury's interview already has over 500 views. So I don't see anything stopping the Barica Indians fans from just taking care of their boy, Brian Hamilton. So Cunningham, get out, retweet, tweet, Instagram, whatever you got to do, and take care of my boy Shane Aylward, because he needs to get one of these MVP weeks, because he is so deserving. But you guys are getting your butts kicked on Twitter.
They are at the moment. They are at the moment, and we'll see. Again, as you see, voting closes each Tuesday. So if you're watching this before Tuesday at 11:59 p.m., click in and vote. And if you missed out on it this week, get in next week. It goes up every Sunday morning, Saturday late night, usually Sunday morning, and you have about 2.5 days to vote. So get in and vote for the MVP. And Bill, one last thing to just kind of go over here, the schedule for next week. Interesting week in terms of because of where the games are. It's loaded on Friday night, which is not the norm, but it is in terms of the EEE issues this year. But this Friday, you've got North Andover at Chelmsford, you got Central Catholic at Lowell, Drake at Acton Boxborough, and then the one that we've circled, Tewksbury at Billerica. Any thoughts on the Friday games?
No, Tim, I think, we say it each and every week. These teams are loaded, and even like you said, Lawrence Haverhill, there's two teams that are going to want their first win, so they're going to come out battling. I think the Methuen-Andover game, I think, I wish we could get to every single one of these games because there's going to be some good football being played.
Yeah, I think the Methuen-Andover game is gonna be a real tight one, and Friday night is just like I said, you got 4 games there on Friday night, 3 of them, direct competition between MVC opponents, and Central Catholic Lowell, interesting. I was just at Lowell, so I'm probably going to end up back in Billerica on Friday night to see that showdown, and then the Methuen-Andover game is probably the Saturday game of note for sure. Although, like we've talked about, it'd be good to see one of the Haverhill and Lawrence teams get a win. So we will be watching there. We will be as we've said, send us your videos, send us interviews, send us suggestions. Hit us up on direct message on Twitter. And all the ways to get in contact with us.
Still getting the love and it's devastating. So as a parent, as a coach, as an injury, and it's devastating. So as a parent, as a coach, as a player myself, those are the kids that you got to make sure you keep an eye out for. Those are the kids that still a part of that team, and you got to make sure that they're still getting the love and they're still getting the respect from the fans and from their schools, because these are the kids that end up taking a painkiller or start to feel left out, and things starts to hit them in a different way. And there is a real thing called sports depression, and we need to make sure that we recognize that. It's obviously hit my house a little bit right now, in the fact that Connor got dinged up, but I've been texting all week. Great to hear Nate Hebert did not play this week, but is a Methuen kid at Central that was getting a shout out by the quarterback, and obviously Mercurio, who I didn't know a ton about, but I'm starting to learn as I'm talking to different people. Those injuries are obviously physically debilitating, but what they do on the mind as well, and we need to make sure that these athletes are taken care of, not only physically but mentally, to make sure that they stay on top of their game, and when they're ready to come back, they're both physically and mentally ready to come back. So didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but it's something that we talk about this show, Tim. We want it to be fun, we want it to be about the kids, but we also want to make sure that we're talking about some things that are also important for people to understand.
Absolutely. I can't beat what Bill just said, so I will simply say thank you for watching the show, and watch us all throughout the week. Hey, let us know how we're doing. The show, listen, we've constantly gotten suggestions, constantly tweaked how we're doing the show, constantly added new features, and it's all because of you guys and what you got. Just the more and more viewers we get, the more and more feedback we get. So we can't thank you enough. It's exciting. We're excited about MVC football. We're so thrilled that we're making a connection with you, and we look forward to doing it again next week, hopefully with a full roster and both Bill and I over the sniffles here. For Bill Bryant, for all, I can't even name all of the interviews we had this week, but huge thank you to Dwayne Sigsbury for joining us on our extended interview of the week.
Twice.
Yeah, absolutely. So huge thanks to all the contributors, all the folks sending in videos. Keep sending them, and we'll be right back at you next week on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Have a great week, everybody.
Go Pats.